know how to use the foam roller?
I know how to do chest press.
There you go. Okay. How many basic stretches do you know? Just put the number on your hand and hold it up. Basic
Stretches.
body stretches. How many basic body stretches do you know? 5, 2, 8-ish, 7-ish,
Big chicks know 10.
7, none,
Right up to
2. Okay. All right. So we know a little stretch, but not a whole lot of stretch. Stretching world is endless. What I'm going to show y'all guys tonight is some just real basic stuff that you want to do every day, at home, after your workouts, before you go to bed, thing like that. From just the foam rollers to your regular body stretches. Okay. First, I'll go over just a couple of little fun facts to kind of let you know how that works, what to expect a little bit, and then I'll go into the actual exercises. We'll start with the regular body squats. Still on workout mode. Body stretches, and then I'll move on to the foam roller. Okay? Okay. So over time, our muscles get tight and stiff. Stretching helps with increasing your flexibility, your range of motion, especially if you've had knee injuries or shoulder or ankles, or stretching is a very good tool, no matter what the stretch is, for the most part, for those injuries, to help as we age so that we're not old and crippled people walking around like this, okay? I know quite a few people here who are in their 60s, 70s, that come in here and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't do that, and I'm 22 years old. So I want all of us to be like that when we get older, but that means we have to take care of our bodies, and part of that is stretching. So recommended is 10 to 15 minutes every day. No, we do not have to do that to, at least function for the most part. But that is the recommended, to at least get kind of the maximum that you can get to benefit for your body out of stretching. Then static stretching is recommended for after your workouts. You never want to do static stretching, which is lean and hold a stretch, okay? If you're going to do any kind of stretching before your workout, either the foam roller or what we call dynamic stretching. So it's taking that stretch and putting it into motion. So the quad stretch, you literally could go walking around the room and 1, 2, 1, 2, and that would be turned into a dynamic. You can do body squats. That would help loosen and warm those muscles up. That would be before you work out. But the static stretching, the standing still, holding a position for X amount of time, is something you do after. If you do that before, you can increase your chance of injury. And then once you are in your position, you'll hold it for 30 to 60 seconds. It takes your body 10 seconds just to recognize that you're even stretching it. Okay? So if you hold 1, 2, okay, cool, I stretched it. Your body didn't even pick up on that you did anything. You have to hold it for at least that 10 seconds. But then past that point, if you only held it for 10 seconds, your body just realized that you were even stretching. So it didn't even actually stretch the muscle out. So that's why they recommend 30 to 60 seconds for each individual stretch. Not just for all your stretches, but for each individual stretch. Okay? So a little bit on the foam rolling. The reason why we like the foam rollers so much, I know it's a love-hate relationship with these things. I don't always like them. But basic static stretching is only stretching your muscle from one end to the other. It's not catching those little adhesions that we build up over time. It's not doing anything for those. It simply just kind of skips over them, doesn't even recognize that it's there. So that's why we like the foam roller, because the foam roller actually rolls through your entire muscle. That's why you feel those lumps when you roll, or you feel, ow, that hurts. It's probably an adhesion, scar tissue buildup from working out. You tear your muscles when you work out. That's why we like protein, to rebuild those muscles, make them bigger, repair them, okay? But if you don't stretch, foam roll, those adhesions where that repair happened are going to always be there. That's why you want to smooth and roll them out so you don't have the tension in your neck, in your legs, and everything like that. when you first foam roll, when we first start, like I explained, kind of feel those sharp, uncomfortable pains. The more you do it, the less those tend to hurt because your body kind of gets used to that pain. Unless you're like uber super short, then yes, it sucks and it hurts. But you kind of have to push through that pain, but also know the difference between, oh, that's a sore pain, and oh, there's something not right. Okay? A lot of the time you won't have that pain, but that pain would be there if you injured yourself. So essentially you're breaking down all of those adhesions, knots in your muscle by rolling over it. It's just like you get a massage. Masseuse is working all those kinks and knots out. That's kind of your cheaper version, easier version of a masseuse when we can't
Feels
spin. They're a little more gentle on us. They're not.
Jackie is not gentle
Oh,
on me, I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, you're right. Jackie is not. Jackie, if you're watching, I'm sorry. We love you. No, you're right. But it's something to get us by when we can't afford the $75, $100 hour massage, or we just, crazy busy life schedule, and we only have time for 5 minutes in the morning. Foam roller works wonders. It helps you out a lot. Okay. So that's why we really like to emphasize the foam roller. Okay. Again, it helps prevent those injuries and helps you keep moving on your daily life. Okay, so stretching. Your basic body stretches. We're going to start with our upper body. Maybe. Okay, so I'm going to go over child's pose, tricep stretch, cat-cow, and the wall chest stretch. In the little packets that you have, I tried to put it in order in the direction that we're going to go. Got a couple little notes there on the side. I left it blank for your discretion on what information you feel is necessary for you. Okay? So your child's pose stretches the back muscles, latissimus dorsi, erector spine. Helps realign your spine as well. Helps just it's just kind of a nice, relaxing stretch. So, to do a child, I'm going to bust out a mat here. Okay, so, to do a child's pose, you're on your mat, you're going to sit kind of in between your feet, and you're going to slowly lay yourself down in between your knees, and you just try to breathe and relax and lower yourself down to the ground as much as possible. Okay, so you want to relax that head so that you're not causing any tension in your neck. We're trying to get rid of the tension. You're here, you can come in the center, hold, you can slowly walk it out to the side and hold it here so you can get a better stretch down those lats, more angled to your one side, and you can go to the other side. Okay? What?
I'm just wondering where my belly goes when you do.
It goes right in between your knees.
I am not bending over.
And that's why we
You
do
just-
this. And that's why you do it. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Okay? This is a flexibility in your back. This is a flexibility in your hips. Because if you don't have any range of motion here in your hips, that's just going to be your child pose. And you ain't going to get any further than this. You have to have that flexibility there in your hips to even get to this position. So the more you do it, and that's why I want you to breathe, take deep breaths, and just lower yourself in between your hips and your knees. And just try to relax as much as possible, okay? And then you have your left and your right side. A good time to do this one would be if we did bent over rows, lat pull downs, stuff like that.
So this is after a workout.
This is after a workout. Yes, ma'am. All right, so next is the cat-cow. Again, it's a nice, chill, relaxing stretch. This one helps to realign your spine. Excuse me. Strengthens your abdominals by contracting them when you round your back. Okay? So, you're on your hands and knees here. You go out, which is going to help stretch out your core, help realign that spine, and then you curve here. When you come up, you are having to suck that belly button in if you're doing it properly. So when you suck that belly button in, that's contracting your core muscles. So you're here, contract the core muscles. So you're going to strengthen your core Now I'm separating the shoulder blades, stretching in between those shoulder blades, okay? So you would just simply go here, hold, and then back up and hold, and just go back and forth between the two. Then you have your wall chest stretch. So there are many different ways to do this one. This particular one stretches your pectorals major, which is the larger pec muscle, and you have the minor, which is kind of underneath your major, and your biceps. This is good to use at once if we've done a chest day, or if you have done biceps that day and you feel like they're going to be super sore. So you're simply just going to palm the wall, make sure your hand's lower than your shoulder. Don't ever go higher, at least not with this particular stretch. So even with your shoulder or lower, and just turn and stretch. You'll feel this almost all the way down to your hand. So it's normal. If you're feeling tingling sensations, that's not necessarily good. So that means you need to readjust because you're probably pinching a nerve. A few different ways to do this exercise is also if you get in the corner of a wall, like that corner back there, and you lean up against the two walls and stretch. That way you get both sides. And this one you would do a 45 up, 90, and a 45 down. Now this 45 down and the 45 up, particularly the up one, actually get your pectoral minor, which is very hard to get to. So if you're ever super, super sore in your chest, sometimes it's because your minor is sore and it's really hard to stretch that one, okay? All right, tricep stretch. So everybody knows the triceps on the back side of the arm, opposite of your bicep. So you're simply gonna go up above your head, drop your hand back, kind of touch in between your shoulder blades, take the opposite hand, grab at the elbow, and pull kind of backwards and to the side at the same time, okay? So you'll feel this stretch down. You may feel it a little here depending on how tight you are, but mostly there in the back side of the tricep. And you'll do both sides, okay? So skull crushers and kickbacks would have been an exercise that we would have done for you to need this. All right, lower body stretches. We've got the hip flexor stretch, the V stretch, and the wall calf stretch. All
So
right.
are these typically things we do when we've had a real strong leg day?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll show you a couple other ones as well. These particular ones kind of they're kind of a good just basic stretch, okay? Your hip flexors are here kind of at your hips. So if your hips ever hurt or your low back is hurting, your hip flexors are probably tight, okay? So there are multiple ways to do the hip flexor stretch. You can do it standing up, or you can do it on the ground like she's doing in the picture. The reason why we kind of recommend the ground picture is because a lot of people don't necessarily have the control or the core strength to dial in that hip flexor when they're standing up. So you're here on the ground, foot's pointed straight, and you lean. Now don't lean to where your knee is over your toe, okay? Like I always stress to you guys, knees are always behind the toes in just about anything, okay? So you're just gonna drive that hip forward, and you should feel a good stretch here in the front, especially if it's super tight, okay? Then you can bring this arm up and turn, and it just kind of pulls and emphasizes that stretch even more, and it just loops over here more into your hip, okay? And you would do both sides. Okay, so this would be really good when we've done lunges and squats. So then your wall calf stretch. This is one of my favorites simply because I have plantar fasciitis in my feet, so my feet get irritated and everything like that, and it's from your calves being tight. So to do your calf stretch, you're going to come up against the wall, hands, one foot's in front, just the same stance like you would your hip flexor, and you're going to lean forward. Again, make sure your knee doesn't go over your toe, keeping that foot, one, nice and straight and flat on the ground. And then you just lean as much as you need. If you need to, you can then bend that knee even more and not necessarily have it straight to get a better stretch of your calf and your Achilles tendon, okay? So the calf raises, burpees, jump rope, jumping jacks, things like that, when you're extending off your toes, would be a good time to use that calf stretch after your workout. V stretch. So we can do this one kind of standing up or sitting down. This one is really good for working those hamstrings. You can get into the calf if you're really, really tight, but you would have a wide stance with your feet pointed straight, okay? First start just going straight down, okay? You'll feel this all along the back side of those legs. And then you can shift from one side and hold to the other side and hold, okay? Again, lunges, leg curls, step up, hamstring curl-ins, bridges. Those would be all exercises that would have used your hamstring, so that would be a really good effective stretch after that workout.
Tara, are they all about 30 seconds you hold? Is that?
Every exercise should be held for at least 30 seconds.
Okay.
So if you're doing this one, this is gonna take you a minute and a half to do all three. If you do all three. Because you would want 30 seconds for the middle, 30 seconds to the left, and 30 seconds to the right. Okay, and that's with any stretch you do. The minimal is like 30 seconds, and then the max is like 60. You don't wanna hold it over that minute unless, like a doctor or some our sports medicine has prescribed it to you to stretch it longer. All right, on to our foam rolling. So, first we'll do the upper body. So we're gonna go over your spine, chest, forearms, back, and shoulders. Okay, so again, in your papers, in the foam rolling section, you should have this, and my lines kind of got cut off on your shoulders, but there's still a little space there on the side to right. All right, so with your spine, there's 4 different ways to move around your arms that'll help open that chest. I like this one because it helps realign your spine. It's kind of like a mini chiropractor session without having to go to the chiropractor and get yanked and pulled on, okay? So you'll take your foam roller, however you get down here. Not everybody gets down here the easiest, but you wanna make sure that you try to sit closest to the edge as much as possible. It just makes easier for once you've laid back. If you're, you'll have less likely that your head's falling off the foam roller. So you lay back, and you want your head supported by the foam roller. Again, always tuck those hips back. That's with anything I ever have to do. So your hips are back here. You can do your arms crossed here at your chest. Okay, just kind of breathe in and out. You can roll a little back and forth on the foam roller. You can lay those arms straight out to the side. That just kind of opens that chest up. Squeezes those shoulder blades in the back. You can do bent elbows. And that'll get you a little bit of a better stretch because your arms aren't meeting the ground as quickly since you've shortened that leverage. You can do marches, which will help realign your sacrum and your hips. So you'll just be here on the foam roller and marching. Again, always, always, always keep those hips tucked, belly button sucked in. I can't stress that one enough, okay?
It's real famous, tuckins.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for your back, relieve tight muscles, mainly gets your latissimus dorsi and your erector spine. So your latissimus dorsi is probably one of the biggest muscles in your back. It starts at the top of your shoulders pretty much and goes all the way down to your hips. That's like its connect point. Then your erector spine is the fat muscle that kind of runs down the sides of your spine, okay? So to roll your back, start on the ground with your butt, then lean back. That is your lowest point you should go with rolling your back. You go any further than that, you're liable to pinch a nerve or hurt yourself in that lumbar sacrum area. Okay? So you'll just kind of roll up and down on your back. You can have your hands behind your head here. Ooh, just like I had a nice pop there. And roll back and forth. You can shift from one side to the other and target that latissimus dorsi or erector spine on that one side more. If it's too heavy, kind of put your hands behind your back, pick your feet up, and you can change how much pressure you put by picking yourself up off of the foam roller. So you don't have to be sitting on this foam roller full-fledged with all of your body weight, okay? So that can change the dynamic, especially if you're like super sore, you don't want your whole body weight sitting on you. You can change it by pushing with your feet or your hands. All right, chest. This one will kind of play into the shoulder aspect of the foam rolling, so they kind of group together a little bit. But you'll take your foam roller at an angle and lay directly on your pec muscle. You can have your arm here, you can have your arm twisted to the back, okay? And you'll either way just kind of lean, and this one you really won't roll as much. You'll just find those sore spots and just put as much pressure as you possibly can into that sore spot. And you can roll back and forth on top of that front shoulder and into your armpit, okay? So this is how it'll connect. So into your shoulder, once you've done your chest, you're here, and you roll into that armpit. So now I'm in my armpit, and I'm hitting that one of those connect points of my latissimus dorsi, my back muscles, okay? I'm kind of turn so you can see a little better. So you're here in your lat, you kind of roll that armpit here, and then you'll slowly roll into that shoulder, and just right there on the back side, in between that shoulder blade. A lot of people get really tight because that's where that connection of that lat is right underneath that shoulder blade. So one of the only ways to really get it with the foam roller is to start forward, and you've got that shoulder blade kind of open up this way when you've got your arm in this position. So you'll catch just barely that attachment point, and it hurts. Like this does not feel very good. But I know it's going to help. So you would find it and just hold it until you feel it slowly kind of relax. Anything with the foam roller, you find those knots that really hurt, and you just sit on them 30 seconds, just like you would do a static regular stretch, okay? And then the other one, the bottom picture kind of rolls out the deltoids, so the top sides of your shoulder. So you'll just have your foam roller straight here, laying on your arm, and roll like this direction. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so you have your delts that attach. There's 3 different delts. They get nice and tight as well, because all of this stuff is kind of interconnected with each other. So once you've gotten the inside of that shoulder blade, you can just roll up on top of the shoulder. Okay? All right. And last one, forearms. How many of y'all type every day at a computer? Yep, arms, elbows start to hurt. You ever get real good tennis elbow going? This one right here helps tremendously. Doesn't take a lot. But you have your foam roller, and then hold both pictures up there. Roll the bottom sides of your forearms, flip, roll the top sides of your forearms, okay? You can kind of get this way if you want. You can roll it this way, and just be creative. You gotta just play with the foam roller, turn it which way that works best for you and your body to find that kink and get that knot and let it relax so that the pain in your elbow will go away, okay? All right, moving on to lower body. So we're gonna cover your IT band, everybody's favorite foam roll, your hamstrings, calves, glutes, and quads. So we're going to go ahead and start with this bad boy and get that one over. So you'll just have your foam roller here on the side. Start at the top of your hip, okay? And if you don't want all of your body weight, use this leg and arm, okay? That way you don't have to put all your body weight on. If you're comfortable with all your body weight, you just lay like this. And then you will just slowly roll directly on the side of your leg, up and down, okay? Again, find those knots, stop on it, relax, and let it go, okay? If putting that much weight on the side of your IT band is just horrific and you can't do it, or you physically just can't get down there on the ground to put yourself in that position on the foam roller, you can take this foam roller onto the wall like this. Use that outside leg to move you up and down, and you'll actually have to start it kind of in the middle of your leg so that when you squat you'll get top and you come up and you get the bottom. And you can just kind of roll like this, and this way you're just leaning up against the wall instead, okay? All right, so this will help relieve any knee pain, low back pain, or hip pain. If the outside of your knee hurts, this would be a good one to do. If your hip up here is hurting, probably got a good spot somewhere in your IT band. Your IT band does kind of connect on the back side of you, so if your low back is hurting, IT band. Normally if it's knee or hip, it's going to be your IT band or your hip flexors. One of the two, most likely. That's tight, unless you have some kind of chronic problem besides just a tight muscle. Alright, hip flexors. So this is going to relieve some knee and back pain as well. If you've got really tight hip flexors, the back sides of your knees may hurt. They may hurt more on one side versus the other. So it just means that maybe the outside of your hamstring's more tight than the inside of your hamstring. So you'll just be here. Start just in a seated position, and then you'll just slowly roll onto those hamstrings and roll forward and backwards. Again, you can put one leg down to help stagger body weight or anything like that, and just do one leg at a time. And you can kind of rotate on the inside of it, turn, catch the outside of that hamstring, turn, get right there on the back side of that knee and catch it, or go all the way up. Right before you get to your glute, like you'll feel that hip bone, like right at the base of that hip bone, and get on the back side, that very top point of that hamstring, okay? So,
Tara, can I
yes.
ask you a question? If you've got really tight hamstrings, if you did this, faithfully every day, does that help?
Yes, very much. This is probably something I should do every single day as much as I stand, and I'm constantly forgetting about walking my knees out, so the back sides of my knees are always hurting. Especially since school has started, so I'm walking around campus more now too as well. So if I did this all the time, back sides of my knees would stop hurting most likely. All right, our wonderful little glutes, gluteus maximus and minimus. So everybody hates it when these are sore. We can't sit down to go potty. We can't sit down in general. You just hurt. These are probably one of the suckiest things to be sore, and at the same time, one of the easiest things to roll out. Okay, it's such a thick muscle that even when it's super sore, you can normally tolerate a lot of pain when you roll it out. Okay, so sitting on it, you're gonna want to roll one side out at a time. Again, like I showed y'all with the back, you have a stopping point before you get. Same thing with your glutes. You want to stop right there at the top side, kind of base, before you actually exit off of your hip, because you don't want to get into that low back spot, okay? So you'll stop there. That's the attachment of your glute. So you'll feel a good pinch. It's kind of uncomfortable, and that's the pinch between your skin and the bone at the top of your hip. That pinch, that's your stop point. Go back, okay? That's the attachment of your glute. So you'll roll back and forth here, okay? Like she's got in this picture, if you cross that knee, like we've done in class before, this is just a basic stretch in general, okay? So then you add it on a foam roller, so now I've got pressure in that muscle, and now I'm stretching it, and then pull that knee into your chest. So now you're getting two different stretches. You're getting a static stretch of the muscle, and now I'm pushing on that muscle to help relieve it. Because that muscle is so thick and is a large muscle. This foam roller is not always penetratable enough to get to the meat of the problem, those huge knots that are a little bit deeper, okay? So adding that extra stretch can kind of help it because you're kind of stretching it out so it makes it a little thinner, and then you're putting the pressure on it so it kind of helps relax it a little bit more. And you'll do both sides. And with any foam rolling exercise, yes, hold 30 to 60 seconds, but you also kind of roll, and if you've got a good knot and you feel it kind of loosening up, you kind of almost roll it until it's kind of gone. So sometimes, and the good thing is that, you know, I've got the knot here, so I'm going to roll back and forth, then I'm going to sit on it 30 seconds. I'll roll back and forth, sit on it again for 30 seconds. Back and forth, sit on it again for 30 seconds. So it may take you 3 minutes to roll this one knot out of, but that is okay because you're not constantly sitting on that knot. You roll it out, you know, you kind of, what you broke up, you roll it out. And you break it up again, and you roll it out. And you break it up again, and you roll it out. And eventually you get rid of that knot wherever it may be. So that's the cool thing about the foam rolling, is you can kind of overly excessive do it. All right, calves. These are kind of hard to do. Requires a lot of body strength to pick your whole body up and move it up and down. So if you ever have a nice friend who you can lay on your stomach, put another foam roller underneath your ankles so that your feet aren't being pressed up against the ground, and then kind of have them push the foam roller across. You can always do it that way as well. If you either one, it hurts too much to do it this way, or you don't have the strength to do it this way. Because you're having to pick your whole body. I mean, yes, I can be here, but I'm not going to get a lot out of that because there's no body weight over here, so there's not any pressure. So yes, this does work a little bit, if your calves are not that bad. But if you don't have the strength, or it just hurts too much to get up like this, then you can do it that other way, where you flip, foam roller underneath the ankles so we're not squishing our feet, and then have somebody else roll you with the foam roller, okay? But so you're here, you can cross, you can even again add the extra stretch and just roll over, and you're gonna wanna twist all kinds of way because the calf is kind of a complex sucker. You've got your regular gastrocnemius, then you've got your soleus, which is a little further down, and then it goes into your Achilles tendon. This sucker right here is pretty thick. It's actually kind of two parts. You've got your muscles that run up the sides of your legs and attach at your knees. So if you've got some things going on too, it could also be muscles running up and down the sides of your legs. Okay? So you'll just roll back and forth here. Okay? All right, quads. Everybody loves these, especially when they're sore. Foam rolling sucks when you do this one because it is big muscle. They get super sore, and then you're putting all your body weight on top of that. So they do hurt sometimes if they're super sore when you foam roll. So always just know that you can, you know, do both, so that helps distribute some of your weight. Okay, you can always kind of pick yourself up and only do one, but then like change how much pressure you have on that leg. Okay, so you'll just roll back and forth on the quad. You can start on the center and roll out. You can start on the outside at the top and roll in. You have muscles that do cross across your leg like that. So you have a good muscle that connects here at the top of your hip and crosses and connects on the inside of your knee. So the inside of your knee hurts, it could be a knot from way over here. Okay? Just like when your low back hurts, it could be your hip flexors that hurt. Completely in different ends of your body. And we don't think of that. We don't think of it that way because we're like, oh, that's not where it hurts, so that's not the problem. Well, yeah, our body is in ways that we still don't even understand majorly connected to one thing. Like, for example, everything on my right side, lower body, is jacked. Everything on my left side, upper body, is jacked. There is a correlation between these injuries. There's multiple injuries. It's called cross syndrome something or another. Remember the exact technical name. But essentially, you've got an injury on one side, the way your body is connected, you can cause overcompensation or an injury on the other side. By opposite, and not even your lower body, it's my upper body. So, that's part of the reason why all of my injuries persist, all on my left side, and then all on my right side leg. It's crazy how that stuff kind of interchangeably works. So if it seems really awkward, that can't be right. It most likely probably is. Okay? So just foam rolling those quads up and down here. Okay? And I think that's the last one. Yep. Okay, so the only one that's not in here, and this will kind of pair up with your quads, is your hip flexors, to foam roll your hip flexors. It's something you'll do tied in with your quads. But again, just like I pointed out with the hip flexor stretch, your hip flexors are way up here, so stick the foam roller right there. And you'll kind of roll in, roll out, sit, roll down, sit, and roll down. Okay?